Hello and welcome to another episode of The Funny Kind with your host, Erica Gumieny. Get ready for some laughs and inspiration as Erica takes us on a journey to find the kindness and light in everyday places. And now, without further ado, here's your host, Erica Gumieny.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for being with me today for another episode of The Funny Kind. I am so happy to have with me today for our conversation, Jonathan Misirian. Jonathan has been a friend to our family for over 20 years. Him and his wife, Lynn, and their son, Jacob, we've known for so long that it's just bizarre to see his son grow and our kids grow. And just thanks for being with me today, Jonathan.
Erica, I'm really excited to be here. I mean, I think the world of you, and I've known you, like I said, for a long time, like you said, for a long time. It is crazy. And to watch like our lives change, our kids change, watch us change, be there for each other through tough times and through great times. I mean, it's crazy, but I'm glad to be here, glad to be doing this pod with you. And
it's so crazy.
I love following, like, I think I read almost every one of your posts from Facebook last year on your devotional blog. And so this is great. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Oh my gosh. Well, for those of you that don't know, Jonathan is the lead pastor at Southbrook Church in Franklin. He's also the chaplain for the City of Franklin Police Department. And I just want to honor what you have done in our life, Jonathan. We had met when my husband, Jay, first got diagnosed with cancer 20 some years ago, and we became friends. And you have been there for us through every trial and tribulation. Like, I don't know how you do it. I don't know, but you are a man of sincere service, and you have a servant heart, and you do it for no accolades. And I'm inspired by what you do. And I'm honored that your light and love has touched our family. And thank you for being there for us when we couldn't really stand on our own. You've been through so much with us. And I thank you sincerely. I'm going to cry. And the joke that I don't even know if it's a joke, but my mom had multiple sclerosis and found herself in and out of the hospital a lot and lived in a nursing home for many years in her 60s, which is a huge bummer. But my mom was very sassy and intense. And I went to see her one day and she's like, "Who's this friend John that you got? Who is this friend?" I'm like, I don't know anybody named John, Mom. Like, what are you talking about? And so she's like, he said he knows you, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, wait, do you mean Jonathan? Yeah, Jonathan. So I reached out to you and I'm like, are you going to see my mom? Are you visiting my mom? And you were, and you went to visit her just because, and she loved when you went to visit her, and it meant so much to her. And you were there for her funeral, and you were there when she passed away. You came to the nursing home, and it's like, you are always there when we need you. And I don't know how you do it, because I know that you do it for thousands of other people. And who better to be in this conversation with me today than you? We're calling this discussion Faith in Action.
All good. Glad to help.
Yeah. So with that, when I talk about faith in action, what does that mean for you?
It's a great question. I mean, faith in action and being a servant. I mean, in some ways, it's just how I'm wired. I remember as a child, I love history. I love politics. In fact, I was a history, political science major in college, but I couldn't watch things about the Holocaust or anything with children or women being abused. It would get to me. It was very sensitive, and I would cry very easily and stuff like that. And I think that's affected me and influenced me in some ways to realize, to the point of now, as an adult man, service is just the way that God has wired me. And it's my way of leaning into those really tough and difficult situations that we often find ourselves in. I don't necessarily have the best words. I don't know the right words. I sat right over here the other day with a man whose adult son died by suicide in their own home where they all lived together. And he's crying and asking me, why did this happen? And, and I know enough to know like what not to say, right, and how to say, but it occurred to me like there's nothing that I can say to that person right there that's ever going to satisfy him. But what I can do is I can show up the next day with a meal, and I can show up the next week with a card, and I can show up the next day by saying, let's go out to coffee and listen to what they're doing. And I'm under no illusions that that service is going to like change them. But I also believe that serving others, especially when they're in their most vulnerable time, I mean, you are bringing God into a situation in a way that maybe they're not going to respond to if you're preaching or trying to guilt them to come to church or something like that. And so I've just come to realize, like, I think serving others is the one thing that we don't see around us, right? Without trying to get all preachy, our culture is all about power and me and build my kingdom and pressing other people and stepping on people. And it's no different in the Christian world. Pastors are platforming themselves or on the speaker circuit or trying to get a bigger following and a following. And while everyone's doing that, no one is looking after those who are not looked after. And I really just lean into that and embrace, like, that's maybe God's calling for his followers, or it's definitely for me.
Yeah. And what amazes me as I've watched you is when you like show up, I feel like step one, show up. Like you always knew when to text. You always knew when to call. You always knew like the right time to lean in and the right time to step away. I don't know how you knew. And you'd always text. Like, I've just learned so much from you about your prioritization of including people in your thoughts every day. And you must have it's, for those of us in sales, we call it CRM, like Salesforce CRM. It's a software where you keep track of your customers and you know when to reach out to them and follow up with them. And you probably have a system like that to keep organized, but it doesn't feel that way. And when you reach out, I'm like, how does he remember? Even though I know you probably have a recurring appointment in some system, it doesn't feel that way. And you make me and my family feel seen and cared for. And it has gotten us through such tough times.
Yeah. Thanks, Erica. One of the things there's two things I could say to that. One is like, I've learned enough through failure, which is like when I'm driving, I like to know where people live. And it's just one of those, it's a reminder for me of like, oh, pray for that person, or they've got that situation. So anytime I'm driving someplace, I'm always cluing into the people and who we have and where people live and their story. But often when I'm driving is when I get prompted, and it sounds super spiritual, and I'm not making it that way because that's not me. But I'll get a prompt in my head of like, hey, send that person a text and just say you're thinking about them. And the times that I have done that, I can tell you like 5 times in the last year where someone has said, oh, I just literally got a phone call that some tragedy happened or something like that. And it's not always the case, but more often than not, it's something significant like that. And so then I've learned when I've had those promptings and I don't follow through, and then I'll hear later, oh, there was some incident. So I am trying to lean into those promptings. So that's the subjective side. But I do pop things on my calendar, like when it's a year anniversary of someone's death, and I'll say, this person died a year ago. And then that will clue me on that day to pray for that person. And then usually I'll send them a text and just say, hey, I'm thinking about you today. Might be a tough day. I do that with Mother's Day and Father's Day. When it's the first Father's Day or the first Mother's Day since their parent had died, then I send a text out on that morning and just saying, hey, it could be tough for you regardless. I'm just thinking about you. And it's crazy how on my end, it takes 5 seconds.
Yeah.
But on the receiving end, because no one else is thinking that way, it just makes a world of difference.
Yeah. And so many of us are, we dip our toe into the suffering of others. Yeah. And we're there for a second. We go to the funeral. We reach out in the beginning when all the active action is happening in the activity. And then we go back to our lives and that person is left. I just think that that's so important to follow those prompts. That's really cool. And So thank you for listening to those prompts and not listening to sports radio. Just want to, on
Talk
behalf
radio.
of all, yeah, talk radio.
The politics.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Okay. You talked about how this was like a part of you, like this idea of service, this heart that you had where watching things about the Holocaust or suffering really bothered your soul. Was there somebody that as you grew up that you watched that you wanted to emulate as I watch you, even though I'm older than you, but still I'm much more immature, just for the record.
I had, so I'm a pastor, right? Been pastoring at Southbrook for 25 years, which is crazy to think about. But the examples I had as pastors were bad examples. So one was my father. He was an average pastor, but he was a terrible father, and that he was different Monday through Friday. We found out later abusive than he was on Sunday. But like even in college and out of college, like the pastors, they were good people, but like I never saw them during the week. And when I only saw them on Sundays, they were always dressed up. And there was just always a gap between them and us. Like I remember doing marriage when my wife Lynn and I had marriage counseling at a previous church before coming to Southbrook. The pastor sat at this huge desk and we were on the other side of it. I mean, there was this big gulf between us.
Down a couple inches.
And he was higher and in the counseling, he was talking about like when you have kids, and my wife Lynn started to cry because we were told we weren't able to have kids, and he just never picked up on the cue that she's sobbing in front of him, and he just kept on rambling. And so like I feel like my examples have always been like, I don't want to be like that, and if I'm ever in a chance to be a pastor, that I want to do it in a different way. Not that I'm better or they had strengths and weaknesses. I've got strengths and weaknesses, and I have no problem sharing them. I just knew on this side of things that I wanted to kind of model a different approach to it. And so it was really the negative examples in a sense. But I was influenced by there is a pastor who was a prolific author who wrote a ton of books about being a pastor. In one of the books, he said, you can't preach to someone on Sunday if you're not having coffee with them on Monday. And that idea of that concept of like, you have to really know your people, and that only comes through time, through showing up, through calls and texting and being there, has really influenced me. So I've really tried to lean into that mindset at least. So
I love that.
Yeah,
I love that. So it's not, you don't have this, and you see that when you're here at church, work in the room, you know what I mean? You're not back in your office. Like now that you're talking, I remember the pastor from our old church, he would be in his office and it wasn't until the organ played that he would come out in his fancy robe with the stole on. And, there wasn't a connection there. He wasn't somebody that I felt comfortable with being myself with. So you'd always have to put on airs and not really feel, where with you, we feel like we can just be ourselves, and you still seem to hang out with us for some crazy reason.
Well,
When I think about your life, and you've had struggles like all of us, has there been somebody that has shown up for you in a way that you're like, wow?
Yeah. When I was in college, I helped out at a church nearby in their youth group. And the youth group leader was a man by the name of Will, and he was a civilian engineer for the Air Force. So he was not a part of the armed services, but he worked for the armed services. And he was just a brilliant, brilliant man. Like if I remember right, he went to MIT and in 4 years had his undergraduate and a graduate degree. I mean, just a brilliant person. But he told the Air Force, like, you're just funding my ministry, and my purpose in life is to be the youth group leader at this small church youth group. And he poured his life into these students, but he poured his life into us as college students and mentored us and influenced us. At one point, Will received award of the engineer of the year for all of the armed services. So who knows, thousands of people. It came with a huge pay raise and a promotion that would carry him to like DC or something like that. We were in Ohio at the time, and he turned the promotion down so that he could stay at this small town, small church, because he was had such a powerful influence upon us. And so Will's influence on me in college, there's a reason why I'm a pastor today, and that's because of Will. And there's like 20 of us college age people who are now in our 40s and 50s who are all in ministry somehow. Maybe it's not full-time like I'm doing, but they're youth group leaders on the side, or they're Sunday school teachers, or there's something. And that's directly because of Will and his wife, Kim, who like they dedicated themselves to us. So he's a huge influence. I haven't in the last year or two, but up until the last few years, every year I send him a note just thanking him and reminding him of his influence that's perpetuating even now here in Milwaukee.
Thank you, Will.
Yep.
Oh my
Good
gosh,
man.
you have to send this to him.
I will.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
When we think of faith in action, faith means believing in something unseen.
Sure.
That doesn't mean that you don't doubt.
Mm.
And it doesn't mean that you don't look at the world and go, what on earth is happening up in here?
Yeah.
Why does it seem like the whole place is coming apart? So all of the service that you do, all the caring that you do, and also this heaviness that's happening, how do you manage all that?
Oh,
Right?
that's a great one, Erica. I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't think I'm doing it well. I don't know. A couple of years ago, somebody gave me a book called The Highly Sensitive Person, HSP. And I read it and it really resonated with me. HSP is kind of a range where like some people actually feel the colors of their clothing, and that's a higher end. And then there's a lower end, and I'm definitely an HSP, highly sensitive person, but I'm on the lower end of things. And so the challenge then is that it makes me great as a pastor because I really do truly care for people, but it also comes at a great cost of your emotional life. Like you have to learn to set those boundaries, and you have to realize you can't save people or fix people. And you also have to learn to realize you have to do things in order to recharge yourself. Now, none of those things I'm good at. Like, I'm just not good at any of those things, probably because I am a people pleaser. There is a part of me that does get a benefit out of serving other people, which is terrible to say. But I like when people say, hey, you brought me a meal and it was great. And like, there's a benefit that I get, which is not healthy, but I'm just acknowledging it. So I have to be aware of that dynamic that's at play as well. But it is a crazy time. I mean, the culture has shifted dramatically in the last 5, 6, 10 years than what it has been before. And my wife and I were walking the other day. We ran into a school district administrator. And so we started talking with her, and she said, there's just been a significant shift that's occurred within our students, and she feels it. And we feel it the same way. I mean, I feel it as a pastor. I think you would feel it. We kind of generally feel that things are more fragile feeling than maybe what they were. And part of that is good. Like, I think there's a positive in that. You know, the things that we have been trusting in are crumbling, and maybe that's a good thing because we've been trusting in things that we shouldn't have been trusting in. And so from a spiritual perspective, there's actually a positive to that in some ways, where like, well, yeah, you put your faith in politics or countries, or you put your faith in power and all that stuff, and it is going to let you down. It is going to disappoint you. The difficult part of that is that means there's a lot more people that are hurting. And so it's a challenging time, at least from my perspective, to model hope, to point people to a God that loves them and cares for them and wants to be involved. I said the other day a line in church, which is not original with me, but like, hope is a radical act. Like, there is something true with that. Like, for me to actually have hope in the face of hopelessness is a way of defying the status quo. It's a way of rebelling against maybe the forces that want us to lose hope.
Jonathan is currently doing a series called Light in the Darkness. And it's so powerful because being positive feels like an act of radicalism, is because it's like, I have a question. Like, do you think social media has helped or hurt us? It's like, yes, to both.
Oh yeah. I mean, social media is a wonderful thing. Like, I try to use it to promote other people, to always give others shout out. It's a way of undercutting. It's a way of being subversive to the me aspect that social media is, or that social media thrives on. I mean, it thrives on voyeurism, what's going on with other people, and it thrives on narcissism. Like, look at me. And we love those things. We love peeking into other people's lives, and we love the self-focus. And so social media can be used for positive, but it's also horrible. I mean, you see and you compare yourself, and pastors are no different. Churches are no different. People are no different. You compare yourself easily. Oh, we had 50 baptisms. Well, we only had 5 people show up at our church,
Oh man,
or whatever.
We need a bigger bathtub. Do you feel somebody who loves history? I remember seeing a futurist who takes historical trends and applies it to the future, and that somebody said that we are in the winter of culture, but spring is coming. And then there's others that are like, end times, repent, pack up your stuff. We're going to be zipped up any second now.
Oh, I don't even know how to respond. It's a great question, Erica. I mean, the reality is I think things are so fragile that they could go one of 2 ways and we wouldn't be shocked. I mean, things could all fall apart, or there could be some type of, not revival, but a restoration of civility and kindness, things that we used to have. It wasn't too long ago that Republican presidents were talking positively about immigrants being a source of strength, as an example. Whereas like that's just totally shifted right now. And so like, can we go back? Yeah, we can go back, but will require a stronger reckoning that I don't know if we have the ability to do at the moment.
Yeah. All I'm trying to focus on right now, like my little sphere of influence in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Franklin was, like is so tiny, but I would hope that I could bring some joy and light into the little part that I play in this world and not add to the suffering. If at least I can make it a little better,
sure,
and not add to it. I see so many people sharing things that aren't even factual. And it's like, how is that helping? Or like people will share something that somebody terrible did. And I'm like, why would you promote that? You're promoting that, which is something that you despise. So there will be books written about this time in humanity. So
what I'll say to that is like fear works. Like it works in politics. It works in relationships. It works in churches. Right? Like in politics, if you don't vote for us, then this is terrible things going to happen. We see it in relationships. If you don't do what I want or be the type of person I want, then I'm going to leave you. Fear works in churches. You need to do this in order for God to love you. The problem is it works, but it's not sustainable works. It's like a short-term work. It does motivate people, but it motivates people in an unhealthy way. And I think this is like the best time in the world for followers of Jesus, especially to model something that's not being seen in our culture. And that's the subversive aspect of having hope or serving others. Or maybe it's not building a bigger platform. It's caring for those who are overlooked. It's the stuff that culture will view as third level. But from like God's perspective, I mean, that's the stuff that changes people's lives. People will remember the meal, the card, the call. They're not going to remember who you voted for 20 years ago or 40 years ago or any of those types of things. How much money you made, whatever, who cares?
How do you do it? How do you get up in the morning? Because you have to roll up your sleeves and take care of your community and your wife and your son and your mother and all of us. How do you get up in the morning and keep going?
Yeah, that's a great question, Erica. I mean, part of it is you realize your own limitations. Like, I'm not a savior. I'm not the Messiah. I have a small circle of influence and I just need to pour into that. And so it's keeping a perspective of like, I'm just, as a pastor, like my job is to care for the people that God has brought in, care for our community. I can't do much else. I can't change. And that's frustrating because I see what is going on. And it's, in my opinion, it's horrible. There's so much negativity and darkness out there. And so it is very tough. It's not easy. It's not like I wake up and ready to charge the day. I wake up terrified at the new vileness that's going to be put upon us somehow in our culture, in our politics, or in our lives, or in our relationships and stuff like that. But I think it's kind of like a marriage or any type of healthy relationship. I mean, every day you remind yourself, hey, I'm committed to this person. I'm going to give my best to this person. I'm committed to seeing it through. And that's not like a duty thing. It's just a reminder. And I think we do that. Healthy relationships do that. And I think it's how it is with our relationship with God as well.
Oh my gosh, that's so beautiful. I can be such a snotty teen to God. Like, give me, give me, give me, give me. I want this. I want this. If I don't get it, I'm mad at him. If I get it, I'm thankful for a hot minute. And then I'm back to begging again. And I'm ungrateful and one-sided in my relationship with God. And something is shifting in me, which I can't really quite put my finger on what's happening to me, maybe midlife crisis, but I don't know. Something's got to change. And all I can change is me.
This pastor who really influenced me, who said you can't preach to people on Sunday if you're not having coffee with them on Monday. His name is Eugene Peterson. In one of his books, he talked about the role of the pastor is to be subversive. And I love that because that's how I'm wired. I'm always thinking that way. Like that connects with who I am.
What does subversive mean to you?
Subversive is if our culture is pushing one thing, maybe what God wants us to do is the opposite, right? Like sometimes people ask me, how do you know to do the right thing? And I'm like, oh, it's easy. I just do the opposite of what I want to do, right? Because what I want to do is this, and the right thing is the exact opposite of that. But like if we're seeing so much darkness and negativity and all around us and in our relationships, like this is the best time in the world to offer that hope, to offer that love, to offer kindness where it's unexpected. And maybe that's a simple note to a politician. The amount of positive notes a politician gets are like zero. And so if you send a note and just say, hey, I'm just so thankful that you are in politics and guiding our city. Thank you so much. Something like that just makes a world of difference, and it builds credibility, it builds character. And if you can do that consistently across culture and all throughout your community and do that over 20 years, over time, that changes the culture. It changes people and it changes people's hearts. So that's that subversive aspect. We just don't see that. We see people yelling and getting louder and louder and louder and building bigger and bigger platforms. Like this is the best time, especially for, people who honor God, to take care of those who are overlooked, to send that note, to call on someone, to be a light in the darkness, to be faith in action in a way that just no one else is doing. And anybody can do it. The simplest, I shared this story real quickly on Sunday, but last week I'm driving to church and my phone buzzes and it's 6 a.m. and it's a text and it's Hales Corners Police Department. And I'm like, oh, great. There's been, some horrible thing because they're texting me. Then I look closer and it's the chief of police. And he says, hey, Jonathan, I just want to say thanks for sending that card to our police department. It really made the world of difference for us. Now, I have no idea what he's talking about. Like, I didn't send him a card, but somebody here sent him a card thanking him. And like, he thinks enough of that, like, because just no one gets that. It's just a little example of like, anybody can do these types of things. So to me, that's just a great example of subverting the status quo, being a light in the darkness, or putting faith into action.
Wow. Way to close it out. And there's no cue card here. That just came right from your heart. Oh my gosh. Well, I feel like I want to go do some nice things for people, thanks to your inspiration and your honesty. And thank you for being a leader in our community and for showing the way to so many of us and showing us the way to God and showing us the way to living out what it means to be a Christian in this wild and crazy world. So, well,
Erica, I'll just throw it back at you. I mean, like what you did last year on Facebook, posting every single day. I mean, that was incredible. I mean, it takes a lot of work, a lot of discipline, a lot of faithfulness, but the amount of responses that people had on seeing those encouraging posts was absolutely incredible. And so like, you keep on being that light in the darkness. You just keep on leaning into how God has wired you. Your posts, future book, your 20-minute YouTube video, this pod, like you're making a difference, Erica.
Oh my gosh.
So thank you.
Ooh. All right. Well, if you need Jonathan's Venmo, he just gave it to me so I could pay him for making those nice comments. Just kidding. But thank you so much for being with us. And I will include information about Southbrook Church and some of the other references that Jonathan had. But go out and make the world a better place. Okay, you guys? Until we meet again. Thanks so much. Bye.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of The Funny Kind with your host, Erica Gumieny. Be sure to subscribe now so you don't miss any of the laughs or inspiration. And Erica wants to hear from you. Be sure to reach out if you know of someone Erica should connect with as she continues to take us on a journey to find kindness and light in everyday places.